Hello, we are watching the news broadcast daily and following today's highlights.
National Assembly Chairman VN is paying an official visit to Thailand to boost legislative ties. The Executive Director of the United Nations Office on Drug and Crimes is visiting Vietnam to seek increased ties with Vietnamese police. Vietnam protests against Chinese fishing vessels for cutting the cable of its seismic survey ship and ask for an end to such wrongdoings.
National Assembly Chairman VN is paying an official visit to Thailand. He met with several legislative leaders and the Prime Minister of Thailand in Bangkok on December 3rd.
At the talks, Hung affirmed that the Vietnamese National Assembly supports the transformation of their bilateral ties into a strategic partnership. It will advance the two countries' developing relations in a more intense and practical manner, benefiting the two peoples as well as peace, stability and development in the region, he added. Kiatsu Ranong said, as they share strengths in rice production and export, Vietnam and Thailand should closely cooperate to become the region's leading countries in food security. Earlier the same day, Hung met with President of the Thai Senate, Nikorn Vairapanick. At a meeting with Thai Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra in Bangkok on December 3rd, Chairman Hung affirmed that the Vietnamese National Assembly backs the two countries' governments in enhancing cooperation in all fields. Prime Minister Shinawatra said it is necessary to lift the two countries' ties to a strategic partnership level to promote socio-economic development in each country, which in turn would contribute to the common development and prosperity of the region and the world.
Vietnam and Ukraine have agreed to boost cooperation in energy, machinery production, aviation and the transfer of technology in the future. This was reached by Vietnamese Deputy Prime Minister Hoàng Trung Hải and Ukrainian leaders during his visit from December 1st to 4th.
During the visit, Hai met with Prime Minister Nikolai Azarov, Deputy Prime Minister T. Gipko, Mayor of Kiev Province Protya Syevnov, and Standing Vice Mayor of Kharkov Province Dulov. The two sides agreed to start negotiations for the Vietnam-Ukraine Free Trade Agreement scheduled for next January, describing it as a breakthrough that has boosted two-way trade for the future. The Ukrainian side said they are willing to modernize energy facilities and build power plants in Vietnam and pledged to create all possible favorable conditions for the Vietnamese community in Ukraine. During the visit, Hai also met with local businesses and the Vietnamese community living and working in Ukraine.
UN Under-Secretary General and Executive Director of the United Nations Office on Drug and Crimes UNODC, Yuri Fedotov, is visiting Vietnam. He met with Deputy Minister of Public Security, Lieutenant General Phạm Quý Ngọ in Hanoi on December 4th.
Fedotov pledged to assist Vietnam to implement the 2012-2015 Action Plan on Drug Crimes and Human Trafficking Prevention. He said UNODC wants to further strengthen cooperation with the Vietnamese Ministry of Public Security to control trans-border drug trafficking and combat crimes, especially newly emerging ones. Ngo informed Fedotov of Vietnam's significant achievements in reducing crime. The accomplishments, he said, are attributed to the police and the whole of society through nationwide campaigns to safeguard public security and order, contributing to national security and socio-economic development. He said his ministry has actively strengthened international cooperation with countries in the region and organizations in the world to combat crime.
Vice Chairman of the National Assembly Huỳnh Ngọc Sơn led a delegation on a visit to Cambodia from December 2nd to 4th at the invitation of Heng Samrin, Chairman of the Cambodian National Assembly.
The delegation was received by Heng Samrin and Senate Vice President Tap Ngon in Phnom Penh on December 3rd.
At the receptions, the host spoke highly of the effective cooperation and assistance the Vietnamese National Assembly has provided Cambodian legislative bodies in recent years. They said such cooperation reflects the fine friendship and solidarity between the two countries. Both the host and the guests agree that the two countries' legislative bodies will continue boosting information and experience sharing and assist each other in human resources capacity improvement to increase the quality of legislative activities. The same day, Hang Sam-rin and Huỳnh Ngọc Sơn cut a red ribbon to mark the completion of an information technology project which was presented by the Vietnamese National Assembly to the Cambodian side. The project, costing more than $1 million, is comprised of a network of 500 computers and laptops with broadband internet and IT training for the Cambodian National Assembly Secretariat. During the delegation's visit, Vice Chairman Sơn laid a wreath at the Vietnamese Volunteer Soldiers Monument in Phnom Penh and visited the Vietnamese Embassy in Cambodia.
The Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development has reported that the country's rice output for this year is expected to reach 43.7 million tons. This is an increase by almost 1.5 million tons over last year's figure.
The rice granary of Mekong Delta is expected to produce a total of 24.6 million tons, up 1.1 million tons year-on-year. The high rice output this year was attributed to the applications of supporting policies by local authorities, coupled with developing the so-called Grand Petit Field model, according to the Ministry Planning Department. Northern provinces have basically completed harvesting the main crop and are currently stepping up sowing and planting winter crops in spite of unfavorable weather conditions. Meanwhile, many localities in the Mekong Delta are speeding up sowing of the 2012-2013 winter-spring crop.
The Vietnam National Oil and Gas Group PetroVietnam has raised its objection over an incident when Chinese fishing vessels broke off the cable of the group's seismic survey ship, the Bình Minh 2. On December 4th, spokesman for the Vietnam Foreign Ministry Lương Thanh Nghị said the Chinese action seriously violates Vietnam's sovereignty over Hoàng Sa and Trường Sa archipelagos, as well as Vietnam's sovereignty and jurisdiction rights to her waters areas. The spokesman asked the Chinese side to immediately stop such wrongdoings and not repeat similar actions in the future.
Answering questions from the media, the deputy head of PetroVietnam's Search and Exploration Division, who's in charge of the EC office, Phạm Việt Dũng, said the incident happened at 5:04 a.m. November 30th, when the Bình Minh 02 was attempting to carry out a seismic survey on the Vietnamese continental shelf around the Tonkin Gulf and encountered many Chinese fishing vessels there. When the warning signals were sent, asking the Chinese fishing boats to leave the area where the Bình Minh 02 was working, two Chinese ships numbered 16025 and 16028 ran up behind the Vietnamese ship, breaking up its seismic survey cable. The location of the cable breakage was at 17.26 degree north latitude and 108.02 east longitude, 43 nautical miles southeast of Vietnam's Cồn Cỏ Island, and 20 nautical miles west of the median line between Vietnam and China. PetroVietnam also requested that relevant agencies ask Chinese citizens to respect Vietnam's sovereignty and not interfere with operations of Vietnamese ships, including seismic survey ships belonging to PetroVietnam.
The Central Committee of the Ho Chi Minh Communist Youth Union and the United Nations Volunteers Program jointly held the 2012 Volunteer Festival in Hanoi on December 4th.
The festival aims to encourage and honor the contributions by volunteers and voluntary organizations to the country's socio-economic development. It celebrates the 10th National Congress of the Ho Chi Minh Communist Youth Union and International Volunteer Day on December 5th. At the festival, volunteers and organization representatives discussed the Millennium Goals and evaluated the implementation of the goals in Vietnam. Suggestions for long-term and sustainable voluntary activities were offered, as well as directions for those activities in Vietnam and other countries.
Well, I think there's a great volunteer spirit in Vietnam, and a lot of the youth here want to participate in volunteer activities. I think there should be also more structures in place that help groups come together to share more information, and also more resources for the volunteers to help find volunteer activities that they want to participate in.
There were a number of activities for young people, including wordless art, share stories, corner of quiet voice, a photo exhibition on volunteer activities, games, and music performance. On the occasion, the Youth Union Center Committee called for donations to create better study conditions for children from rural and underprivileged areas.
This is the end of our news today. Thanks for watching and goodbye.